Good evening.
Guys, we have to be quiet.
Welcome everyone. And we want to give a shkoyach to Reb Gidon and his family, Rabbi Shimel and his family for helping out to this. And we will continue now. We're in the middle of the story of the Nesius, of the leadership of the Tzemach Tzedek. Now, the truth is that the main life of the Tzemach Tzedek and the main story of the Tzemach Tzedek, or I should say the most serious part of his life, was communal, taking care of the community. Tzemach Tzedek had two major things that he had to contend with. One was the Maskilim, the Enlightenment movement, the beginning of the Reform movement. They literally wanted to force the Yidden away from Yiddishkeit, and they fought tooth and nail against every Orthodox Jew, and specifically against the leaders of the Jewish people, and specifically against the Tzemach Tzedek. And I'm not going to talk about it this week yet, because this is really a whole parsha for itself. And the next thing that he had to contend with was the Cantonists, the famous terrible decree that the Tsar in Russia made specifically against the Yidden, that they will kidnap or capture children from the ages of 7 years old, literally, and take them to the army for 25 to 30 years. They called them, the word Cantonist seemingly was a Russian expression for a child of the army, an army child. And although before they did this to the Yidden, there were Goyish people that did that, not as a kidnapping, not as a forceful thing, but the Goyim used to go, and some Goyim were so, so loyal and patriotic to the country that they would take their little kids, we're talking about 10-year-old, 15-year-old, and hand them over to the army to become a Cantonist, to become an army child, totally army, from a young age to a higher age. However, the Tsars, Yamach Shemom, they did it for one specific reason. They were very religious in their religion, whatever it was, Christianity. They were crazy about it, and this was one way they were hoping to be able to take Jewish children and literally convert them and turn them into Goyim. And the Tzemach Tzedek had to contend with it. There are some major things that happened, and we will try to go through as much as possible, because most people don't remember these stories, and you have to read it up, the Tzemach Tzedek, Tnus HaSkola, and the Frierdiker Rebbe's writings. A person's hair could stand up on end when you hear what Tzemach Tzedek went through fighting these two things and sticking up for the whole entire Jewish community in Russia. It is really mind-boggling, and how endangered the Tzemach Tzedek was, and how they arrested him so many times and sent their top detectives and investigators to Lubavitch. It boggles the mind, and we will in Mitzvah Shem get to that, because I feel that those are going to need a few weeks of covering it. In the meantime, we were holding now how the Tzemach Tzedek finally accepted the Nesius, became the Rebbe, and we will tell about a few of his Chassidim and how the Tzemach Tzedek took care of the Chassidim. We'll talk about a few little stories of Tzemach Tzedek's days before we get to that other major part. First of all, after the Tzemach Tzedek accepted the Nesius, he went and visited a few of the cities in Russia where Misnagdim lived, and also Chassidim, and he mamish, the Misnagdish people in those days of the Tzemach Tzedek started respecting the Tzemach Tzedek tremendously, and this was the first time in the history of the Chassidim, from the Baal Shem Tov, Mr. Chemagid, the Alter Rebbe, and the Mittler Rebbe, where it became sort of peace between the Misnagdim and the Chassidim to a degree, where the Misnagdim and the Chassidim started living together peacefully and working together for their communities and so on. This was the first time. One of the reasons is explained that the Tzemach Tzedek would very much connect Chassidus and Nigla, the hidden part, the concealed part of the Torah, and the revealed part of the Torah. In his Maimorim, in his teachings, he put them all together, which means that suddenly people used to think that there's Nigla, which is the regular part of the Torah, Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, and so on, and Chassidus is for the Chassidim, and it's for some holy people, and Kabbalah, and so on. suddenly by the Tzemach Tzedek, the people started realizing it's all one thing, it's all one Torah. Tzemach Tzedek in his Maimorim is Mishalev. He weaves the Chassidus and the Nigla all together. It can't go one without the other. So people started respecting the whole idea, and they said, wow, this is something that we never realized. So one of the places that Tzemach Tzedek visited was a place called Minsk and Vilna. Both of them were strongholds from the olden days, but now it all had changed. And as a matter of fact, it is told that when he came to, I don't know if Vilna or Minsk, they sent a lot of their great geniuses, sent representatives to go and greet and meet the Tzemach Tzedek. But at the same time, they also wanted to test. They knew he's a great genius and he's a great scholar, but they wanted to test him. So when they greeted him, they prepared a table with all kinds of foods and I guess cakes and fruits and so on, because in the laws of brachas and birchas haneni, this becomes very complicated. Which fruit, which bracha should you make first, and which bracha should you make second? That Tzemach Tzedek, in his wisdom, his great wisdom, besides the knowledge that he had, he also explained to them certain things about when these fruits, how do they become choshuv? How do they become important? The person who eats them has to want them and make them choshuv, because if he doesn't want them, it's not choshuv. And with his wisdom and knowledge, they became so impressed. They were mamish mesmerized, and he gave us a long share about all these things with the Birchas Haneni. That was one of the things. Another thing that happened in Vilna is that that Tzemach Tzedek used to like Fabring. He used to sit there and talk and give over a Chassidic discourse and talk to the Yidden about different things. And at one of the older Geonim of Vilna, of Minsk, asked Tzemach Tzedek, I guess privately or publicly, I'm not sure. If Friedrich Rebbe writes this, that he asked the Tzemach Tzedek, he said, Lubavitcher Rebbe, I don't know if he said those words, he said, what did Chassidus, what's the novel idea of Chassidus over the teachings of Musar? Musar is rebuke. It means that Yidden used to learn Musar in order to better their ways, to refine themselves, to try to become a better person. And they used to learn Sifrei Musar. Everybody knows that for hundreds of years there were Musar Sfarim, and they used to follow the Musar Sfarim, which would tell a person how to repent and how to change his ways and to fast and to torture oneself and so on. But this person asked the Tzemach Tzedek, so what was Chassidus Mechadish? What's the novel idea of Chassidus? What did Chassidus bring in to the world more or over the Musar Sfarim? So the Tzemach Tzedek asked him, did you learn the Tanya? So he said, no. So the Tzemach Tzedek said, well, by you, my dear scholar and genius, Chassidus had no effect on you. And I'm doubtful if the Musar even had an effect on you. And Tzemach Tzedek told him why he's saying such sharp words to him. He said, after you live for 50 years, a yovel shonim, you live amongst Chassidim, you're living in a city where a huge crowd of Chassidim live there, and you meet them face to face in the weekdays, on Shabbos and on Yom Tov, and you still ask the old question, what did Chassidus gain? What did Chassidus bring new for us? In other words, what's the word I'm looking for? What did Chassidus add over the Musar Sfarim? I have a big doubt, he said, if the Musar Sfarim had an effect on you. That's what he told us going. And then the Tzemach Tzedek explained to him. He did tell him the answer. He says the chidush of Chassidus, the novel idea of Chassidus, says that Musar, said that Tzemach Tzedek is like this. Musar is, the purpose of Musar is to break a person, to lower, to make him feel, to belittle him in a good way. And to start digging into all the negativities that he might have done wrong. Musar will take a person and tell him, you did this and this aveira, this sin. This is the effect that it has, and this is so terrible, and after 180, a person will suffer. And it also digs into the aveira, how terrible it is to go against the Eibishter in this way and in that way. So it's digging and handling the negativities. However, Chassidus, said that Tzemach Tzedek, explains a person and lifts a person up and explains him how to lift himself up and how to find the hidden strengths that he can heal his whatever negativities he has and his blemishes that he has, spiritual ones, and how the person should have a desire to lift himself up and to refine himself. So Chassidus basically is doing the same thing, but in a total positive way and not digging into any of the negativities. So that was one of the stories that happened with Tzemach Tzedek. I will now, like I said, I will tell a few little stories of Chassidim and Tzemach Tzedek and what went on in those days. One of the Chassidim that was very connected, very mekusha to the Tzemach Tzedek, was a rich chassid, a wealthy chassid called Reb Shmuel Pinchas Levin from the city of Homil. He was one of the very important, in other words, choshev, respected, wealthy anash or chassidim from the city of Homil. His business was gems. He would sell diamonds, buy diamonds, and so on and so forth. He also used to give loans to farmers and landowners, even rich landowners. He would give them loans when they needed it, and they used to pay him back. Now, in those days, when people trusted each other, the people who took the loans and who paid back the loans, they used to give him like a head check without a name and without a date. And they just would write the amount. So if he gave them a loan, let's say of 1,000 rubles, they would write him a document. It wasn't a check, it was a document, a star of 1,000 rubles. And it said, it'll be.
Name on it.
They used to put no name on it. The reason they did it is that number one, they can use this, they can always add more money to it and use it for many loans. And number two, one of the big things was they didn't have to pay taxes. Normally, the government would take a cut of everything. Loans, payback of loans, when their own loans are usually made with interest. But if you have an open star, an open document, nobody knows what it is. The government doesn't know what it is, if they ever find it. And the people trust each other. So this chassid can get the loan back from the payback from the guy. One time, a terrible tragedy happened to this chassid, Reb Shmuel Pinchas, that someone stole from him a whole bundle of these documents. Without these documents, he loses everything, and there were, who knows, thousands of rubles, and he didn't know what to do. So he ran to the chassid, Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac. Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Homler was from the same city as him, from Homel. And we know already from before that Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac was one of the great chassidim that became very connected to the Tzemach Tzedek, and the story with the mimer, that he heard the Tzemach Tzedek say the mimer, and he thought that, wow, he heard this mimer was said by the Alter Rebbe 30-something years before. Anyway, so this Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac was living in the same city, and he was an older chassid. So this Rabbi Shmuel Pinchas ran to Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac, what should I do? According to the law, he was not allowed to have those type of documents, those type of checks, without signatures and without dates, just amounts, because, like I said, the taxes. So he couldn't go to the police station and to the detectives to search for the ganovim, for the thieves. Couldn't do that. Couldn't afford to do that. And together with that bundle of documents, a little packet or a big packet of gems was also stolen from him. And he knew that to him, if he, God forbid, doesn't get it back, it could really ruin his life, this wealthy person. Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac of Hummel told him, get up and go straight to Lubavitch to the Tzemach Tzedek. And hurry, don't waste time. The chassid of Shmuel Pinchas immediately rented a very quick coach, whatever it was, and he express coach, and he went to Lubavitch, and he got there early in the morning. Now, some of these chassidim, or I should say many of these very special chassidim, those who were great people and they were wealthy people, where did they stay when they came to Lubavitch? Lubavitch had many places to stay. And Mr. Shem, one of these days, I'll try to tell you a diary of a person who wasn't a Lubavitcher chassid, who went just to visit the city of Lubavitch to see the Tzemach Tzedek, just curiosity. And he writes a report of what went on in Lubavitch in those days. Very, very beautiful to see. But let's go further here. This chassid, amongst other wealthy chassidim and great chassidim, where did they stay? Who was their host in Lubavitch? The gabbai of the Tzemach Tzedek, whose name was Reb Chaim Ber. When Reb Chaim Ber saw this guest arrive early in the morning, because normally these people used to travel to Lubavitch, you stop off in a motel and you come into Lubavitch in the middle of the day. You don't have to come in the morning. You stop off comfortably. And he looked very bad. This Reb Shmuel Pinchas. The Gabbai Reb Chaim Ber saw him, he felt very sad for the guy. Something is obviously wrong. By the Tzemach Tzedek, there were set times that very early in the morning, the Tzemach Tzedek used to say Tehillim. This was set times like very often. It was a seder, it was like a system that Tzemach Tzedek had that very early in the morning he would say Tehillim. Why? So he once told his son, the youngest son, the Rebbe Maharash, that he's saying this Tehillim in certain days, early in the morning. Why? Because he wants to be a partner with the dealers in the marketplace, the Jews from the marketplace, Yehudei Hashuk, the market Yidden. Those market Yidden are people who are shoe sellers, tailors, butchers, and they, because they have to do work and try to make a little money early in the morning, so they would get up even earlier and say Tehillim. And the Tzemach Tzedek wanted to be a part of their Tehillim saying, so he said Tehillim at the same time they did. The Rebbe Maharash, when he said over this story to his son, the Rebbe Rashab, he said such an inner feeling about the greatness of Yidden, that when they're saying Tehillim, he wants to be a partner, a Jew, the feeling of a Jew, that he's so great just because he's a Yid, can only a Rebbe who travels around in the higher chambers in heaven, like the Tzemach Tzedek, he's the only one who could feel such thing and realize such thing and appreciate such thing. That he wants to be a partner with simple Yidden just because they're Yidden. Now, back to the story. The Chassid Reb Chaim Ber, the Gabbai of the Tzemach Tzedek, suggested to Reb Shmuel Pinchas, if you want, it's early in the morning, come with me, I'll bring you into my room, which is next to the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek's room. You'll be able to hear the Tehillim of the Tzemach Tzedek. He offered him like a treat. The Chassid Reb Shmuel Pinchas thanked Reb Chaim Ber, and he went with him. And when he heard the Tehillim of the Tzemach Tzedek, who said it with pouring out his neshama, pouring out his heart, with a dveikus, he cried bitterly, Reb Shmuel Pinchas, like it affected him tremendously. Then he went to the mikveh and he davened calmly, as he always did. Finally, he went in for Yechidus to the Tzemach Tzedek. He told the Tzemach Tzedek that they stole a packet of gems from him, which is worth a lot of money, and the main thing is the documents, which is really a large amount of money. And this could, God forbid, destroy his situation. He can remain a poor beggar without those documents. And he cried to the Tzemach Tzedek bitterly. The Tzemach Tzedek, this is another, you can look into how the Tzemach Tzedek dealt with Chassidim. A lot of the Rebbeim did it that way. Tzemach Tzedek said to him these words. He says, you are in pain and crying that they stole from you a packet of gems, which is a tremendous amount of money, and a bundle of documents. But you're not pained and you're not crying on the cause for that robbery. This robbery, said that Tzemach Tzedek, is only a result of some kind of a einish, some kind of a punishment from heaven. And instead of, God forbid, getting a punishment on the body, that the body Chas V'Shalom gets sick or punished, they made you a punishment from money. And then the Tzemach Tzedek switched and said, but according to Torah, you're not allowed to give up hope. Search in yourself why you might have gotten this problem, but at the same time, he says to him, right away go back with the coach, go to the way on the highway towards Babruisk, big city, Babruisk, and try your best to get before Shabbos to the last motel before the city of Babruisk on the highway. Tzemach Tzedek is open Ruach HaKodesh. And from there, after that, you'll travel to Babruisk and stay there for a full day, and Hashem will make you successful.
You're going to be in the motel for Shabbos?
Yes. And then Sunday he'll go to Babruisk. When Reb Shmuel Pinchas went out from Yechidus, he didn't even wait a moment. He quickly went onto his express coach and traveled day and night, and before candlelighting, before Lichtbenchen, Erev Shabbos, he came to the last motel before the city of Babruisk. There were two motels there, two chsanyas, two hosts like, and he was very tired. He went to one of them. He was very tired. When he came home from shul, he right away made Kiddush, and he ate through the Shabbos, and he went to take a nap because he was so tired from the trip. But he was disturbed. His sleep was disturbed. Why? Because there was a group of drunks in a nearby room that was singing and dancing And the owner of the motel couldn't quiet them down. They were like dead drunk, And so they drank Friday night, and they drank a whole Shabbos. And Motzei Shabbos they continued to drink until Sunday morning, when the coach of the postal coach leaves from the motel to go to Babruisk, which is, I guess, not too far. Now, one of the drunks recognized Reb Shmuel Pinchas. Didn't recognize it. He realized that Reb Shmuel Pinchas is a businessman. He saw from the way he behaves and dresses. So he went over to Reb Shmuel Pinchas, one of these drunks, and he said, listen, me and my friends are people that come from Moscow, from Moskva, and we deal with gems. And we're traveling now to Babruisk for our business, because we were able to buy packets of gems for a very good price, and we don't have no cash, he said, but we have a bunch of documents that are worth money, checks that are worth money, he says. And these checks are from some landowners, and we'd like to sell these checks, and because we need the cash, we'll cut down the price on the checks and we'll sell it for a low price. If you know any rich person that's willing to buy those documents, he can earn a lot of money because it's worth much more than the price. When Reb Shmuel Pinchas heard the words of this drunk, he right away thought maybe they're his documents. But he held himself in and he tried to be very calm. And he answered this drunk, he says, in the city of Babruisk, you can find two rich people, only two rich people that would know exactly how to buy these documents and what to do with them and so on and so forth. But first they're going to want to know all the details of this sale. How much are these documents worth, and how much you want to, how much percent you want to cut down from it, and then I will suggest it to those rich people, because first you have to explain to me what's going on. The way that Shmuel Pinchas spoke very calmly had a good effect on this drunk, and he said, listen, the main businessman in our group is my friend who's lying dead drunk, he's sleeping. And the documents, I can get the documents and show it to you, and the gems, but I'm sure that you will agree that it's a good deal once we get to Babruisk. And I'll tell you something, he told him, I can't give it to you right now because my friend the drunk, he has it by him. I didn't say it right. And you will be able to earn a lot of money as a middleman, he says to Reb Shmuel Pinchas. Reb Shmuel Pinchas knew Babruisk, and he right away chose a good motel, expensive motel. And when they relaxed a little, this drunk brought the bunch of documents to Reb Shmuel Pinchas. Reb Shmuel Pinchas counted it and saw that there's not even one document missing. It's all his documents that were stolen from him. Not even one was missing. Then he showed him a few packets of gems. Amongst them, one of them was from Reb Shmuel Pinchas. Reb Shmuel Pinchas realized what's going on, and he said, these documents, he said to him, are actually good documents. You won't have to take down too much from the price, because whoever's going to buy it's going to pay you a nice amount, almost full price. In a few hours, I'll bring you a businessman that I know who will buy it all from you. Reb Shmuel Pinchas knew the owner of this motel, who was a Jew, and he was also a chassid of Tzemach Tzedek, the motel owner. So Reb Shmuel Pinchas quietly went and told the motel owner about the robbery, and that he traveled to the Tzemach Tzedek, to the Rebbe, and Tzemach Tzedek gave him this advice to come here. And now he sees that this is a gang of robbers and they have his stuff. The owner of the motel, says the Frierdiker Rebbe, his name was Moshe Meshel, a name they used to use in those days. He said to Shmuel Pinchas, my opinion is that the first thing we have to grab from them, the documents and your gems, and give it back to you. Because they saw that there were more gems, not just from him that was stolen. After that, we'll decide what to do with them, because I have connections to the police here in Babruisk, and I'll talk it over with my sons, says Moshe Meshel, and my son and my nephew. I have a nephew here also that are here in the motel now. A short while later, Moshe Meshel spoke it over with his sons and with their nephew. They got very anxious. They were very angry about these robbers, his sons and his nephew, and they just burst into the room where these robbers were staying in this motel, and they quickly grabbed them, covered their faces with bags, with pillowcases, tied their hands and their feet. They couldn't move, and they couldn't even make sounds. They started searching through their stuff, and they found the documents there, the gems, and then they found other packets of gems and expensive, diamonds. And in one of the boxes or suitcases they were carrying, they found huge knives, master keys, and all kinds of tools from robbers that they were carrying with them. And they also found false papers, false identification papers. So they said they're going to immediately give it over to the police, but it's Sunday today. This is all after Shabbos, Sunday. Sunday, the police rest. So they're not going to bother them on Sunday. And so they pushed it off to Monday morning. The Weiler of Shmuel Pinchas has all his stuff back. The motel owner told Shmuel Pinchas, you can leave and go home. Shmuel Pinchas said, the Rebbe said I should stay here till tomorrow for one full day in Babruisa. So I'm staying here. That evening, on Sunday, this Moshe Meshel, the motel owner, his son was walking in the street, and one of the chiefs, one of the sergeants of the police station, met him, and they were friendly. And he tells him, there's a big uproar going on in the police station. A special runner from another police station in the city of Minsk came running on a horse here and said that 2 days ago, a group of robbers stole from one of the homes of the very rich landowners a bunch of gems, very large amount, and they can't find these thieves, and they're going around to police stations telling them to look out for them, to search for them. Rabbi Shemeshel immediately went to the chief of the police on Sunday and told him, we have two guests, he says, that came with many packages. One of them is very drunk, and the other one is drinking, and we're very suspicious. We found big knives in their suitcases, and we found master keys and different names of identification cards. I wanted to inform you, he says, but it's Sunday. I didn't want to disturb you. But we tied them up. They shouldn't run away. And surely take them to the police station, he says. But do it quietly. I don't want people to know that in my motel they caught a bunch of ganovim. It's not good for business. The chief of police thanked Moshe Meshel for what he did, and he went with a whole group of police. They arrested them, and the next day they took them in chains to Minsk, and that's when Shmuel Pinchas left home to his house to Homil. And this way he was able to see the miracle that Tzemach, the Chakedesh and Tzemach Tzedek. That's one interesting story. It's not too much time left, so I'm going to say another little story, and then see if we have time, I'll say more. One of the Hasidim of the Tzemach Tzedek, his name was of Shaul Sholem the Kohen. Shaul Sholem the Kohen. And he was from the city of Horodok. He was a Makusha, a Chassid of Tzemach Tzedek. He was brought up, in other words, as a Chassid, by the Baal Pri Ha'oretz, Mendel Horodokian, who was a friend of the Alter Rebbe. So this guy was an older person. And now he's a Chassid of Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek had a lot of Chassidim. And I will repeat that in the next few classes. By the Tzemach Tzedek's days, towards many years of being Rebbe, I don't know if there was any out of the Rebbe except for our Rebbe, he had over 600,000 Chassidim all over Europe. Tzemach Tzedek. Because everybody went for him. Everybody thought so, the Snagdim came to him and became Chassidim, and a lot of other Chassidim came to him. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time, but this man was a mechunach. That means he was educated and brought up as a Chassid by the Baal Pri Ha'oretz, the Mendel Horodokian. This is many years before. And he was from the first Chassidim by the Alter Rebbe, then he was a Chassid of the Mittler Rebbe, and then he became a Chassid at Tzemach Tzedek. This Reb Shaul Sholem was a Lamdan. He was a big scholar, Nigla and Chassidus. And he used to daven very special, like a Chassid davens, with Avodah. His parnasa, his income, was very comfortable. What did he do? He was a gardener. He had orchards, and he used to do gardening. He did it by himself. He worked hard, and his family used to help him out. And when it was time for planting, and when the season comes around, he used to hire many other helpers besides his family. And from this, he made a nice income. This Reb Shaul Sholem was a big Baal Tzedakah. He gave a lot of tzedakah. He did kindness for people, loans and so on. His wife was famous for achnosas orchim, bringing in guests. And she used to also like to visit sick poor people and help them out, give them food and so on and so forth. Every year, this Reb Shaul Sholem the Kohen used to go to Liozne by foot. He used to go to Liozne by foot. And then he went to Liadi by foot. And then he went to Lubavitch by foot. That means wherever he came from where was he? Horodok? It's a distance. And he would walk by foot to all these, to the Rabbeim. When he became 70 years old, he started going only one. This was every year he went by foot. When he was 70 years old, he started going only once in 2 years. The Tzemach Tzedek knew this Chassid, Reb Shaul Sholem, when the Tzemach Tzedek was still a young child. Why? Because Tzemach Tzedek used to be in Liozne by the Alter Rebbe, his grandfather. And this Reb Shaul Sholem used to come to Liozne to visit the Alter Rebbe. Tzemach Tzedek, when he was young, used to love to go outside the field, in nature, outside. And this Chassid, Reb Shaul Sholem, when he used to go Aliyah L'Regel, that means he used to go visit the Alter Rebbe, he used to go for Shavuos. And he used to stay in Liadi and Liozne for a few weeks after Shavuos. And since he was a serious person, this Reb Shaul Sholem, serious in a good way, he was a happy man, but he used to love sometimes to go out and be by himself in the fields for quite a few hours per day. And he used to learn there and delve into different thoughts, Gishmake thoughts. Huh? It's Voidinus, yeah. And what happened, that Tzemach Tzedek found him once sitting there, and every year he would go out and meet Reb Shaul Sholem, and he heard from this old chassid many stories and maimorim, different teachings of Torah, so that Tzemach Tzedek knew him from when he was a kid. Reb Shaul Sholem was much older than Tzemach Tzedek. In the year Tov Reish Ches, Tzemach Tzedek became Rebbe Tov Kuf Tzadik Aleph. This is Tov Reish Ches. This is 17 years later, after Tzemach Tzedek became Rebbe. In the year Tov Reish Ches, this Reb Shaul Sholem became 90 years old. The Hasidim of Horodok that lived together with him in the same city, and the head of the Hasidim was the Mashpia, Reb Pinchas Leib, complained to Reb Baruch Sholem, the oldest son of the Tzemach Tzedek. They came to Tattletale and complained about this old Chassid, the Kohen. To who? To the oldest son of the Tzemach Tzedek, who is the great-grandfather of our Rebbe. What did they complain? That this Reb Shaul Sholem, besides the fact that he goes by foot from Horodok to Lubavitch, he doesn't care about his old age. Every time when it comes to dance, he's the first participant in dancing, and he dances Kazatskis. Kazatskis is when you go like this, It's a very hard thing to do. And he, at 90 years old, he's still dancing Kazatskis, like he used to do when he was friendly with Reb Shmuel Munkes many, many years ago in the days of the Alter Rebbe. So Baruch Sholem went and told the Tzemach Tzedek, this Mesira, this talent that he complained that, he's too old for this. He shouldn't. They basically meant it they were worried that he shouldn't hurt himself. When Reb Shaul Sholem went into Yechidus to the Tzemach Tzedek Tzedek told him these words: a Jewish body you must protect. You have to protect a Jewish body. And the older the body becomes, the more mature it becomes, you have to have more respect for the body. Tzemach Tzedek said this to him. Why? Because the body does mitzvahs like tzitzis and tefillin. The body does it all. You have to have respect for the body. So he said to him, you have to watch and protect your body. A Jew has to know that the tachlis hakavona, the main goal and purpose of a Yid in this world, is shuv, not to fly away into heaven and to get connected completely with Hashem, but to be in this world. And this is the great advantage. There's Ratzu, in Chassidus it talks about your neshama runs and wants to connect with the Eibishter. Shuv is when you tell the neshama, calm down, we have to stay here, we have work to do in the physical world, because the Eibishter gave the Torah to this world. And this is what happened to Rabbi Akiva. It says 4 people went into this very mystical part, this mystical orchard, to get connected to Hashem. 3 of them got hurt. 1 of them passed away. Rabbi Akiva was the only one that nichlas b'shalom v'yotza b'shalom. That was the advantage of Rabbi Akiva, that he had the rotzu to try to connect to the Eibishter, to cleave to the Eibishter, but he knew that you have to come back into the world, stay in this world, and make this world a vessel for godliness, which is the body. The body is the vessel for godliness. So he told him, you got to watch your body. The chassid, Reb Chanoich Hendel, another chassid that was much younger, said over, I think he said it over to the Frierdiker Rebbe, He said, I was there present when this chassid, Reb Shol Sholem the Kohen, came out from that Yechidus, from the Tzemach Tzedek. And he right away told, they used to have a custom, when they came out from Yechidus, they used to dance, a big dance, all the chassidim, with the one who came out. It was called the Yechidus dance, the Kodesh HaKadoshim dance, Holy of Holies. So he came out, he says to the chassidim, the Rebbe told me at Yechidus, so and so, he told him what the Rebbe said to him, to protect and respect the body. He said then to the chassidim, my brothers and friends, my strength now is just like then. I can go out of Kazatskia, a wonderful Kazatskia right now. But the Rebbe said I have to protect my body. I'm not allowed to do that in this special dance here by myself. Therefore, he says, I would like some young people here to make a seat like this, with folding their hands over each other, and make a seat. And he said in Russian, Stari yak mali. I checked in Google, they don't know what they're talking about. But I checked in AI, Stari yak mali is an expression in Russian, which is also an American expression. An old man is twice a child, which means it's got negative and positive. The negative is an old man needs care like a child. But the positive is an old man is just like a young man. It's no problem. He said, I'm ready to dance by sitting on their seat. And they made a seat for him, and he clapped with his hands, and they danced. But this was only for a few moments that they had this seat. They sang a very freilich niggun, and in the middle of the niggun, suddenly the chassid, Reb Shol Sholem, jumped up from the seat, somehow climbed up with his feet, not sitting, but standing on their hands, he said like a ram, like a goat. He jumped up, and he was clapping with his hands and singing along with them. He was careful. He says that the behavior of Hasidim, says the Frierdiker Rebbe about this, was so connected to the Rabbeim that you can learn from every Chassid and his behavior what it's all about. This is an episode of the Tzemach Tzedek's Chassid, one of his Chassidim. Mitzvah Hashem, we hope next week we'll continue and go on to many, many more things about Tzemach Tzedek. Thank you so much.